Hello everybody, welcome back to another video with Lim Reviews. Now in today's video, we're going to be comparing two very interesting devices. In fact, two of my favorite devices that I have today. On my left, this is the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus, and on my right here, I have the all-time value champ Poco F3. Now, both devices here are actually priced very similar to each other, and that is why we're having this comparison video here today to let you as the viewer know what is really different between both devices here. Alright, so very quickly, just because I mentioned the pricing, let's go over the pricing very quickly. Now here in Malaysia, obviously this Redmi is not launched yet, but the Note 11 Pro Plus here is actually going for RM 1,250. That's the price that I got after conversions based on my direct shipping from China. And the Poco F3 here, it is retailing for about RM 1,399, but we have promotions all the time and it's approximately RM 1,200. So again, just in terms of pricing, they're actually very close to each other. During the sale, the Poco F3 is cheaper, but without the sale, the Poco F3 is just slightly more expensive than the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus. Alright, so now that we've got the pricing out of the way, let's just see what's really different between these guys here. Alright, so first up, I'm going to talk about the design, but before I do that, of course, if you like what you're seeing, don't forget to give the video a like, just a quick one to support the channel, and of course sub to see more content like this. Alright, so back to the main topics here, let's talk a bit about the design. Now I'm just going to show you the design here on the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus first. This is hands down one of the best designs that I've seen on any Redmi Note series. It has a very nice smooth back panel. Everything is in matte. Just look at this color, it is very unique. And on the sides here, we do have these flat edges that I've mentioned in my previous videos. It makes the phone feel super premium, guys. So this is the kind of design that you can see on the Redmi. Now, very quickly moving on to the Poco over here. This is a Poco F3 in its latest color. I think it's called a Moonlight Silver. Again, you can see that it's not a bad design, although we do have a very large Poco word at the back here. But just in terms of feel as well, this is a very nice feeling phone. It also feels very premium. But the main difference that I found between both devices here is actually in terms of the thickness levels and in terms of the weight. So on one hand here, the Poco F3 is just slightly slimmer here and it's also slightly lighter compared to the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus. Now just let me know, guys, which one do you prefer in terms of design? If you ask me in terms of design alone, I will have to give it to the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus right here. But design is subjective. Let me know which one you prefer down in the comment section below. Alright, so now done with the design, let's talk a little bit about the displays that we have in the front, because this is also something that is very important, especially when you are a user. So this is where things actually are very, very similar, guys. So hear me out. They both have 6.67-inch AMOLED displays. Apart from that, they also both refresh at 120 Hz. They have a touch sampling rate of 360 Hz. And both devices here are Corning Gorilla Glass 5. So again, very similar here. The only tiny difference that I noticed from both devices here is actually in terms of the brightness levels. So on the Redmi device here, we have a maximum of 1200 nits, but on the Poco F3, it ages slightly because it goes up to 1300 nits. Again, honestly speaking, between both devices here, the displays look exactly the same to me. That slight 100 nits extra in brightness levels doesn't really affect daily use, except in the fact that if you are always outdoors and under super bright sunlight, then perhaps that extra 100 nits might actually help you out on the Poco F3 right here. So again, in display-wise, I would still consider it a tie. Now let's move on to the next point here, and I think this is one of the main differences, the core difference between both devices here, and let's talk a bit about the performance. So power is very important because again, like I mentioned, both devices are around the same price range, but for the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus here, we have the Dimensity 920, whereas on the Poco F3, we have the all-time favorite Snapdragon 870. Now apart from that, the RAM as well as the storage is also very different. We have LPDDR5 RAM here, whereas this is only LPDDR4X. And in terms of the storage, we have UFS 3.1 on the Poco, whereas we only have UFS 2.2 on the Redmi right here. Okay, so straight up right away, you already know that performance-wise, the Poco F3 here is going to be much more stronger than the Redmi device over here. Now, just in terms of how far the difference is, now I've gone through a couple of benchmark tests. We've checked out the Antutu benchmark, we checked out Geekbench, and based on the results from the benchmark tests, we are seeing a difference between 30 to 40% in terms of performance for the F3 over the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus. So what it means is that in terms of just gaming day-to-day use, app launch speeds, everything is going to be faster and much better on the Poco F3. And if we have to quantify it, let's say it's about 30 to 40% much stronger compared to the Redmi over here. So performance-wise, no doubt, the Snapdragon 870 here is undisputedly even stronger than the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus that we have here. So if you are just looking for the pure performance, obviously the 870 on the Poco F3 here is going to take the win. Now, that is just the performance side. Of course, not everyone is looking for the best performance in their smartphone. Some people prefer a better camera, and this is actually where the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus redeems itself. Now, in terms of the cameras here, we do have triple camera setups for both devices here, but what's really different here is in terms of the main sensor. So we do have a 108 megapixel main sensor on the Redmi, whereas we have a 48 megapixel sensor on the Poco. So that's just in terms of the main sensor. In terms of the ultra-wide, both devices here have 8 megapixel ultra-wides. And last but not least, in terms of the final sensor, the Redmi here makes do with a 2 megapixel macro lens, which is honestly not very useful, whereas the Poco F3 here comes with a 5 megapixel macro lens. So that's just the difference here in terms of the numbers. Now, when it comes to real world actual use, the camera on the Redmi device right here is actually, in my opinion, much more superior compared to the Poco F3. Now, we have known for a very long time now that the Poco F3 does not excel in its camera. So the same case persists here. The Redmi here is showing much more accurate colors, better contrast levels, better sharpness. Everything is just better on the Redmi device over here. Overall, again, just in terms of cameras wise, I would say that the best camera here between both devices here actually definitely goes to the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus. Although I do have to point out that shooting images during night mode for the Redmi device right here is slightly slow and laggish, and I think that might be due to the slight lag in power, and I did hope that it would be better fixed maybe perhaps in a software update. So again, just in terms of the camera wise, the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus here is the definite winner. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the next point very quickly. We're going to talk about speakers and haptics. This is where, again, both devices are very similar. Both devices have stereo speakers. They're both loud and they sound great. And in terms of the haptics, both devices come with the X-axis linear haptic engine. So that's also the best that you can get in smartphones today. Now we're going to move on to the final point here, and that's actually about the battery. Again, this is where both devices here are very similar. We have a 4500 mAh battery on the Redmi device, and we have 4520 mAh on the Poco F3. So it's just 20 mAh more on the Poco F3, and it doesn't make any real world difference, but the main difference here is in its charging speeds. Now, the Redmi device here, the Note 11 Pro Plus, introduced the world's fastest, if I'm not sure if it's still the world's fastest, but it is super quick here. It has a 120 watt fast charging support, and it does 0 to 100% in approximately 15 minutes, guys. That is just mind-blowing. This is, honestly speaking, the fastest charging device that I own today, and I think I must applaud it for having that kind of feature. Now, on the Poco F3 right here, we only have the, I wouldn't call it slow, but it is a 33 watt fast charge, and it does 0 to 100% in slightly less than an hour. So just in terms of charging speeds, guys, it is a huge win for the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus. It is 120 watts compared to 33 watts fast charge. Obviously, no fight at all over there. This guy here takes the win right away. So that's it. That's all I can say in terms of the battery and the charging speeds for both devices here. Alright guys, so now bottom line, which device is actually better and which should you choose if you have come into the situation where you have to choose one over the other? Well, in my opinion here, if you are looking for a device that looks amazing, have awesome build quality, a great display, awesome cameras, and of course that super fast charging speeds, if those are the things that you appreciate, you should definitely go for the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus. Now I know this is slightly more expensive compared to all the previous gens of Redmi Note series, but you are getting a really solid device here that looks awesome and feels great. Now, on the other hand, if you actually prefer or your main priority here is performance over everything else, now this is where obviously you go back to the Poco F3. Again, we have said this many times on the channel, the Poco F3 here is undisputedly the value champ. That means you get the most performance out of your money, and again, it's still holding that title up to today. So if you, again, just looking for the best performance, but you don't care about the cameras, you don't care too much about the charging speeds, you just want an overall great performing device, now this is where you can check out the Poco F3, because up till today, I think it's been 5 months since its official launch, it is still a very, very strong device. Alright guys, I think that's pretty much what I have to share in today's comparison. I hope you did find this video useful. You hope you like this video. Again, if you want to support the channel, all you need to do is just drop a like, sub to the channel to see more content like this. And I do hope to see all of you guys in the next one. Stay safe, everybody. Bye!